and thank you for joining today. What we're going to do is a cross-hatching assignment with ink, so you could use ink pens, and I have tons of them, or you could use the really fine tip Sharpies if you have those. So you could do it either all in black and white, or what turns out really cool, and what I've started here is one that is done in color, so you can see which way you would like to go with your project. And I got this from a book. It's called Drawing in 3D with Mark Chrysler, and he has really fun cartoon drawings, and he even has things online that you can watch to do things step by step. But I find that these turn out to be really good cross-hatching instead of just coloring with colored pencils. So I have the handout here, so it has the first couple of steps, and then it skips to where you just would have your details in here, and I've turned this into cross-hatching. So to get started, I have a couple that I've drawn on it just a little bit so you guys can see how to get started, and then I will start with you. So first one, we are going to want to make this oval here. And what I did was I took my finger span from here to here. So if you have a ruler, it is 7 inches that I decided to do. But if you want to make it larger, you could. I would just want you to fill up the page, and I am using the 18 by 12 paper. And this is about halfway, maybe up just a little bit, because we still want all the birds, but then we'll want the tree branch to be showing also. And I did this just in color so you could see how we're going to do step 1 and step 2. So what I've started over here is just a little rough sketch for me so I could show you how to start sketching in the oval, and I'm just using an ink pen. You may want to use a pencil first just because you may want to erase things, but I'm just doing this with an ink pen so it starts showing up for you. And then what we're going to do is draw our little parts of our birds to get started. So then there's another bird up here that we'll want. It looks like there's one down here, and then one over in this area. And I'm just making light marks right now, and we'll be putting more details in. So then I have part of a body that we're going to be sketching in, a little part of a neck for a bird, so I'm making it wider and then getting a little bit skinnier because this bird's going to be opening its mouth. Then we have this really tall guy back here, and we're going to give him a long neck, so I'm starting wide and then getting a little bit narrower as I go down here. And then this one, I'm going to have it angled this way into the nest. And once we have those done, and remember you can be doing these in pencil, we're going to sketch in what would be the little bird's beaks. So they have us putting one, and I'm going to do a little dot up here and one all the way down here. And then I'm going to do 2 here, so it will form like a diamond shape. So I'm going to sketch it in up here, and I'm giving it a slight little curve because the bird has its mouth open. And then I'm going to put one over here, so here's halfway. I'm going to go up just a little bit and have a triangle almost. It's just a bird's beak opening up this way. Then this guy is going to be looking over here. So I have a little curved line, then do a little bit of a curved line here, and then go over here and do the same thing. It's not quite in the center, it's over just a little bit. It's like I'm starting a triangle, but it's curved. And then what they also start doing is we have the body in here. So now I'm just going to sketch in part of its wing and connect the body down just a little bit more. Bring this up, and these are all little cartoony ones, so we're not trying to make it look realistic. It's these little birds, they're wanting their lunch, it looks like. So we have our little wing arm thing here. Sketch these out. And I'm just doing sketchy lines right now because I'll be going back in with my ink pen and giving them the nicer details later on. And then they have some little lines to show the feathers. So this is how we get started. Then what they do is add some circles for where the eyeballs would be. So I'm gonna go up over here and put a little eyeball in here, that up here. This one, I'm just gonna outline its mouth some more so it has a nice shape for being open. So we see more of the beak right there. This one, we're leaving it here, but I'm gonna do this so it will show that it's being opened. This little guy here has an eyeball, and then fill that in, and then we need to put more of the beak in. So I'm gonna go to this part of the circle, and see how these are loose, sketchy lines for right now. Then you'll go back and put the nicer lines in and connect the top part to the top of the circle. And then that way he's look like, feed me! And then we go over here and we're gonna put an eyeball on the guy over here, the little pupil part, and then we need the beak open again. So we have that one sketched in. If you want to clean things up more later with your pencils, you can, or you can just go straight to ink. What we also then are sketching in is a line going this way from this neck of the bird. And I'm going to put a little circle right here with a little bit of a line, so that's kind of starting maybe a thumb, it looks like. So then we're going to move on to step 7, and what they've also done is here we have another bird that they add. So we're going to put another circle and another wide to skinny neckline, and from that it has some eyes here, and then it's looking downward. So I have things started, and now I just need to keep adding in more and more details. So I'm going to go back to the reference picture right here that I got out of the book handout, and we start adding in some ovals here, and they get bigger. This little guy, we already have some arms going, we already got this one. Then this one has some big ovals again, so it would be showing their their fingers of their wing. This one we started sketching the thumb in, but now what they've done is they've added a line here. It looks like we have kind of like a pointer finger, but it's part of its feather coming back. And then we would be sketching in the other parts of the wing finger area. And then from that, we are going to draw in a little tongue, because he's like, feed me! And I'm going to curve this beak up some more and add it in right here. And what I'm going to do is, because this is an oval, I'm going to connect it now so it looks like it's part of this bird. And we're changing things just a little bit, so if I had a pencil, this is where I would erase those lines. Also with this guy over here, he's going to get things added to him, so we need to add a little beak over here for this guy, because he's just looking down like, hey, what's going on? Kind of that surprise look if you want. And then give him some little feathers. And this is where you'd start adding in when you're cross-hatching those extra lines. And then you can see how we're starting to bringing them to life here. Then if we look over at this guy, we're going to add some dimension by more of the beak here. So this is that further out part. This is the part closer to us. So we're just going to make this a little bit thicker and bring this over to the circle here. Just kind of connect his head to his beak. And then this guy, we already have the outside started, but let's draw up above the halfway point. It's like we're starting the top of a heart, and then it comes down and goes back over. So this would be this little guy's tongue. And then we're just gonna clean this up for the parts where it has some feathers coming out. This would be cleaned up too with some more feathers coming out. this is getting all filled in, and I'll just do a little cross hatching here just so we can start seeing where things are. And with cross hatching, the more lines we put, the darker something is going to get. Less lines, the lighter something will be getting. And then this one, let's connect the head to the beak some more. Let's add in another line, and let's do kind of like the tongue coming up again. Bringing all these little guys to life, saying it's lunchtime. And then of course you want the action lines. And then this would be where we have that, fill it in because it's darker. You'd add in shading to all of this. Once you keep getting more and more details, we need to put in the feathers and all that type of stuff. But let's look here at the nest. So we want it to have a branch that's going to be coming down off the page this way. So it's, remember, as branches go, they get skinnier as they go outward. But we want something that's going to support the nest, so we don't want something super tiny like this size. So I have a nest started, I have the tree limb started. I'm going to do some teardrop shapes kind of upside down, or you could think of them as heart shapes as we sketch in these leaves. Nice loose shapes. And then let's put one over this way. And this is just getting us started. We're going to go back and put some nice details in with all of our cross hatching. Get our different values in. So we got those going. Then what we could even do is start adding some of the shading in this area. It's going to be, let's bring the nest up this way. Got a little thumb going here, so it's sort of shading underneath it. And then we would just continue with more of the things. So what we're also going to do, like what this has, is because our final picture is going to look like this, you're going to add more of the leaves, which think of kind of like your starting heart shapes. You'll add in all the little words like saying food and mommy and the big question mark and all these little spaces, and everything just needs filled in like it is. So all the little emotions that they're showing by their squawks. This, put your shadows in underneath their little feathers. So what you would start doing is you can either do this all in black, or you can do this in colored ink where you still can use some black. So just to show you some of the cross hatching, you'd start going like this, and with doing the cross hatching, it's the more lines you put, the darker something's going to get. So if I want to show shading of this leaf throughout, I'm going to say that, and follow the contour. So I'm going to say here it's curved, so I need to show that with some of my lines. And I'm going to follow the angle down this way, so I can just get some of those details of the leaf in. And then you would just continue with that. And for the tree, they have some wood designs. It shows the bark going in it. And then what you would do is think of, okay, this part of the tree is going to be darker because it's underneath and this part's the top. But add some wood bark texture. And then I'm going to curve it just a little bit in these areas to help show the dimension. And then go back over the top with the cross hatching. And I'm just going to keep building up on that. So something like this I could fill in with my pen some more, and then get in there and just put some cross hatching lines. And this is one of those projects that you just keep stepping back from and looking at, going, okay, I need some more lines here, and just keep adding to start making things look realistic. even though it's a cartoon, we still want to give it that dimension that it is realistic, because that's what is very eye-catching about these. So if I was to move it on down here and look at the birds, what I would do is, for this one, he has some cross-hatching around his face right here. So I'm going to start adding that, and I'm curving them inwards for this little guy's face. And that way it's adding dimension to it. He has shadow on this side of his beak, so I'm curving it up and around to show his beak is curved. And then I could go back the other direction to start adding shading in that way. And then we want to get to the way his body is. So do some lines up and downwards to follow, and then curve again to get that contour, and like it's curving around. So if we did just straight, it would make him look very flat. We want to give it dimension by curving the lines. And I'm going to do more down right underneath his beak, and that way it will give dimension. And I could go around this way just a little bit too. And it's one of those, the more you put, the more dimension it starts getting. And then I'm going to keep looking at it going, okay, what else do I need to do? So for this part, and I'm just going to show just a few parts, but to get some of the nest, the texture of it, add just some lines going outwards, different angles, some zigzag lines. So think of the 5 types of lines when you're doing this. Do I have straight, diagonal, curved? Are they horizontal, which is straight across? Are they vertical? And see how that would start adding in. So then I would just continue that throughout. Here I'm going to go with the curve of the nest. And I'm going to do the same thing here. They did add more leaves in here. I just haven't drawn them yet. But you would do the same thing with all of this. So you just keep going back and adding more and more. So for this, the same thing with the neck to give it a shadow for where the beak is. And this guy would have some coming up and underneath. And it just starts giving all that dimension when you're going step by step. So once you have it, here is parts of this with a close-up so you can see. And this one, obviously, I have done all in the black ink. And here's those little birds in their mouths, so you can see the action lines, the little droplets coming out of their mouth. This one looks very stunned. Here's this walking. You can see the texture of all the little parts of the nest and of the leaves. And as I said earlier, you could go through and do it in color if you want to. So here's these little guys here in color. This one I hadn't finished all the way. I was just getting it so you could see. So here I used several shades of pinks for this bird. I even put a little bit of purple throughout, different shades of blue. Here I was starting with a purple one and gonna use a couple of different purples if I had it. If you don't, then you could always just use a little bit of black with something still to get those shadows to pop out. Here you could use orange, brown, yellows for the beak. Here I had red and some pink for the tongues. So you could just start seeing how I was layering things in. And even here for the leaves, you can see how I was curving them with different directions to get them started. Here was parts of the bark. So if we zoom back out, you can see here was that full part of it. And how it, don't leave it one skinny lined letters, actually make them start looking thick. And then here was the black and white one again. So you could see the full details of everything. So this is just cross hatching over and over and over again, but remember, the more lines you put on something, the darker you will get. And then for the background, don't just leave it plain. I just lightly was taking my pen and filling it in so it had an emphasis on that there was something in the background and just not plain super bright white. And the same thing with this one. I was just starting to fill it in with some blue ink that I had. So thank you for watching and enjoy your cross hatching time.